My phone rang at 2:17 a.m., lighting up the dark bedroom like a warning sign. I didn't even need to look at the caller ID. I already knew it was my parents. Calls at that hour were never good news. They were always emergencies, and somehow those emergencies always had a price tag attached to my name. I answered on the fourth ring. My mother was screaming before I could say hello. "Logan, wake up! Your brother is in the hospital. He's in terrible pain. They won't help him unless we pay. You need to send $15,000 right now." 15,000. Not 5, not 2, 15. My father grabbed the phone from her, his voice tight with panic. "They're refusing proper treatment. If we don't pay tonight, he'll suffer until morning and we'll be stuck with the entire bill. Wire it, Venmo it, anything." I sat up slowly, the room completely silent except for their desperation pouring through the speaker. No sirens, no doctors, no proof. Just fear. The same fear they had used on me my entire life. For once, I didn't feel it. I took a breath and said calmly, "Call your perfect little princess." There was a pause, a stunned, offended silence. Then I hung up. I turned my phone off completely, placed it face down on the floor, lay back on my pillow, and went to sleep. That decision would shatter my family within 24 hours. Let me rewind, because none of this makes sense without context. My name is Logan Hayes. I'm 32 years old, a structural engineer, and I live alone in Denver. I moved here 8 years ago, and it was the smartest decision I ever made, even though it didn't stop my family from treating me like their personal emergency fund. I'm the oldest child. That single fact defined my entire life. I was raised with one rule drilled into my bones. The oldest sacrifices, the oldest pays, the oldest fixes, especially when there's a younger brother involved. My parents made it clear early on. My brother was the miracle son, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. My younger sister was the princess, sweet and protected, always one bad day away from needing help. And me? I was the solution. If money was missing, I filled the gap. If bills piled up, I cleaned them. If someone failed, I paid for it, literally. They didn't ask politely. They didn't feel guilty. It was expected. I believed that was love. By the time I was in my 20s, I had already handed over more money than most people save for a down payment on a house. Tuition, cars, credit cards, emergencies. Promises that it would be the last time. It never was. So when that 2:17 a.m. call came in, something inside me didn't break. It shut off. No panic, no guilt, just clarity. I didn't know yet that my brother wasn't just in the hospital. I didn't know about the casino, the gambling, and the lies. I didn't know the police would call the next morning. All I knew was this. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. And once you stop being the family bank, they don't call you strong anymore. They call you the villain. By morning, the truth behind that hospital call would come out, and it was far worse than money. Tell you how my brother became the golden child who could destroy everything and still be protected. I didn't become my family's backup plan overnight. I was trained for it. As far back as I can remember, responsibility was never something I chose. It was assigned. While other kids worried about grades or friends, I worried about whether my parents were stressed, whether money was tight, whether I needed to help more. Because that's what the oldest does. My brother, Tanner, is 6 years younger than me. From the moment he was born, the atmosphere in our house changed. Suddenly, everything revolved around him. His moods, his needs, his future. If he failed a test, it was the teacher's fault. If he acted out, he was just going through a phase. If he wanted something, my parents found a way. When my sister, Skylar, was born a few years later, the pattern doubled. She became the princess, sweet, fragile, deserving of protection. Mistakes were brushed off. Bad decisions were excused. Consequences were optional. And me? I was told I was strong. At first, that sounded like a compliment. Logan's the responsible one. Logan understands sacrifice. Logan doesn't need help. What they really meant was Logan doesn't get help. By the time I was in high school, I was already contributing. Part-time jobs, summer work, saving money not for myself, but just in case the family needed it, and they always did. College was where it escalated. I worked relentlessly to earn my engineering degree. Scholarships, side jobs, late nights. When I graduated, I didn't celebrate, I moved back home. Because my brother was starting college. My parents framed it as temporary, just until Tanner gets settled. I worked 3 jobs that year. Construction during the day, bartending at night, freelance drafting on weekends. I was exhausted, but I kept going because every paycheck had a destination. Tanner's tuition. $28,000. One wire transfer, my entire savings. A year later, he dropped out. No crisis meeting, no accountability. My mother hugged him and said, "College just isn't for everyone." My father took him out to dinner. No one asked how I felt. No one mentioned the money again. It was already written off, not as a loss, but as my duty. Then came my sister. When Skylar finished high school, my mom called me crying happy tears. "She deserves something special," she said. 2 weeks later, I was co-signing a car loan I couldn't afford to lose. A brand new Jeep, monthly payments automatically withdrawn from my account. Skylar thanked me with emojis. Then she posted photos online like it had magically appeared. People commented how lucky she was to have supportive parents. I didn't correct them. Every time I tried to draw a line, the same thing happened. My mother cried, my father went quiet and disappointed, my brother called me selfish, my sister froze me out. The message was clear. Love was conditional. If I paid, I belonged. If I didn't, I was the problem. So I kept paying. Credit cards, temporary loans, middle-of-the-night emergencies. I stopped even asking what the money was for. It was easier not to know. Eventually, I started tracking it all not to confront them, but to reassure myself I wasn't imagining it. The total crossed 6 figures, over $120,000, and not once did anyone say thank you in a way that meant it. By the time I moved to Denver, I thought distance would change things. It didn't. The requests just became digital, faster, quieter, more frequent. And somewhere along the way, I realized something terrifying. They didn't see me as their daughter anymore. They saw me as a resource. I thought I could manage it forever, until the trip to Lake Tahoe exposed just how deep my brother's recklessness really went. 2 months before that 2 a.m. phone call, my brother announced a reset weekend. That's what he called it. He dropped the message into our family group chat like it was no big deal. 4 days in Lake Tahoe with his best friend Garrett. A break to clear his head and get inspired. My parents reacted instantly. Heart emojis, encouragement. My mom wrote how proud she was of him for working so hard on himself. I hadn't even finished reading the message when the second one came through. Skylar was joining too. For content, she added, followed by a wink emoji. She reassured everyone that she wasn't costing the family anything. Garrett was helping and she'd take care of herself. I found out the real story the same way I always did, through social media. Skylar posted a story from the airport, smiling in front of a private terminal, new designer bag on her arm. Caption, "Thank you, Mom and Dad." I screenshotted it and sent it to my mom with one question mark. Her reply came fast. "We only paid for Tanner. Skylar said she's covering herself." Translation, Tanner got cash. The rest didn't matter. That night, Tanner messaged me directly. "For once, your wallet gets a break," he wrote. "Parents covered everything. You're off the hook, lol." I replied with one word, "Okay." And that was it. Thursday morning, they flew out. I was in the middle of work when the stories started rolling in. Selfies on the tarmac, matching sunglasses, captions about taking over Tahoe. Skylar posted footage from inside a jet, not commercial, not chartered in the normal sense. Plush seats, champagne already poured. I remember thinking, who paid for this? Then I pushed the thought away. By the time they reached South Lake Tahoe, their feeds turned into a nonstop highlight reel. Hotel key cards, a massive suite overlooking the lake, Skylar setting up a ring light in the bathroom, Tanner filming himself at a casino table like money didn't exist. I watched from my apartment eating takeout, telling myself it wasn't my concern anymore. That night, my mom called, not for money, just to gush. "Your brother is finally relaxing," she said. "He works so hard trying to find himself." I almost laughed. Instead, I stayed quiet while Skylar's latest post popped up on my screen. Rooftop pool, expensive drinks, a view that cost more than my monthly rent. Friday got worse. They rented a stretch SUV, private brunch, shots before noon, a yacht cruising emerald blue water. Skylar's video from the boat exploded overnight. Comments flooded in. "Living like celebrities. Must be nice. Big sister must be loaded." That last one stuck with me. Friday afternoon, Tanner FaceTimed me from the casino floor. His cheeks were flushed, his smile too wide. Behind him, lights flashed and people cheered. "VIP section," he proudly said. "Bottle service. Parents really hooked it up." I asked how much it all cost. He laughed. "Don't worry about it. Garrett's dad put everything on his card." Then, as if remembering something, he added quietly, "Thanks for always having our backs growing up. This one's on us." The call ended with him blowing a kiss. I stared at my phone long after the screen went dark. $3,000 from my parents didn't buy yachts, private jets, or high roller tables. Garrett had money, sure, but not this kind. The numbers didn't add up. And for the first time, I had a sinking feeling that the trip wasn't just reckless, it was dangerous. By Saturday, the spending crossed a line no one could walk back from, and I realized someone was gambling with money that didn't exist. By Saturday morning, the Lake Tahoe trip no longer looked like a vacation. It looked like a financial freefall. I woke up to a flood of notifications. Overnight, their social feeds had turned into something closer to a billionaire fantasy montage than a long weekend getaway. Designer outfits that still had tags on them, casino chips stacked higher than their drinks, champagne popping every few hours like it was water. Skylar posted a mere selfie in the hotel bathroom wearing jewelry I'd never seen before. The caption was simple, "Little surprises." Tanner uploaded a video tossing $100 chips across a craps table, laughing like it was a joke. Garrett kept filming boomerangs of bottles arriving with sparklers, tagging the location like it was his personal playground. I sat on the edge of my bed and did the math. The suite alone cost thousands a night. The yacht rental was easily 5 figures. Bottle service in high-limit rooms didn't come cheap. And that was before the jewelry, the limo, the private rooms. We weren't talking about a few $1,000s anymore. We were well into 6 figures. My parents didn't have that kind of money. I knew their finances better than they did. Comfortable retirement, yes. Endless cash? Not even close. So where was it coming from? By mid-morning, the posts slowed down. I assumed they'd finally crashed. Then around noon, it started again, and this time it was worse. A private poker room, felt tables, professional dealer, trays of chips instead of stacks. Tanner filmed himself pushing a massive pile into the center of the table, calm and focused in a way I'd never seen him before. Skylar sat beside him, filming from above. Her caption read, "Big Brother's on fire tonight." I froze. That room required a minimum buy-in that most people never see in their lifetime. I refreshed again. Another clip. Tanner laughing, kissing a stack of chips. Another photo. Skylar wearing a bracelet with a price tag briefly visible before the camera cut away. $42,000. I felt sick. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. A smiling selfie of her and my dad sitting on their couch at home. Caption, "So proud of our kids living their best life." I stared at the screen until it dimmed. They had no idea what was really happening. Or worse, they suspected and chose not to look. Saturday afternoon, Skylar went live from the rooftop pool. Day drinking turned into chaos. A private cabana, towers of seafood, endless champagne. Tanner and Garrett threw cash into the air while a drone filmed from above. Someone asked in the comments where the money was coming from. Tanner laughed and read it out loud. "Don't worry about it," he said. "We're blessed." I knew then. This wasn't generosity. This wasn't luck. This was debt. The kind of debt that follows you, that does not go away. That evening, the posts slowed again. I hoped maybe someone had finally pulled the plug, but when they returned, the tone had shifted. The smiles were tighter, the energy sharper. Private casino rooms, higher stakes, bigger bets. Tanner shoved piles of chips forward like he was chasing something just out of reach. Garrett shouted in the background. Skylar filmed everything, completely detached from the danger. I locked my phone and set it face down on the table. I told myself I wasn't responsible. I told myself they were adults. I told myself this wasn't my mess to clean up. For the first time, I meant it. I had no idea that within hours, the fantasy would collapse violently. At 2:17 a.m., the phone rang again. And this time, it wasn't just about money. It was about blood, police, and consequences no one could erase. At exactly 2:17 a.m., my phone exploded with sound. Not one call, many. My mother's name flashing over and over like an alarm that wouldn't shut off. I knew before answering that whatever had happened in Lake Tahoe had finally caught up with them. I let it ring 4 times before picking up. "Logan!" my mom sobbed. "Oh God, Logan, it's terrible!" She was barely breathing. Words came out tangled and broken. My brother was in the emergency room. Casino security had attacked him. He was in unbearable pain. The doctors were refusing proper treatment. My dad took the phone. "Tanner lost control at the tables," he said. His voice was shaking. "Security restrained him. He's got cracked ribs, possibly worse. The hospital wants cash before they'll give stronger medication." There it was. The ask came next. "We need $5,000 right now," my mom cried. "We've maxed out everything. Zelle won't let us send more. Please, Logan, he's begging for you." I sat up in bed, the room completely silent except for their panic. "Why can't you pay?" I asked. Silence. Then my mother whispered, "We're broke." The word hung in the air. She explained between sobs that they'd given my brother everything they had for the trip. They thought it was harmless fun. They thought he'd win. They thought it would fix itself. I felt something inside me go still. For years, fear had driven me. Guilt, obligation, habit. But not that night. "Call your perfect little princess," I said. My mom gasped like I'd slapped her. Before anyone could respond, I ended the call. I unplugged my phone, powered it off completely, and lay back down. My heart was pounding, but my mind was clear. No second guessing, no bargaining with myself. I slept harder than I had in years. Morning sunlight woke me naturally. For a brief moment, I forgot everything. Then it came rushing back, and instead of dread, I felt light. I didn't touch my phone. I made coffee, took a long shower, did laundry, watered my plants, ate breakfast slowly, like nothing was wrong in the world. When I finally turned my phone back on, chaos erupted. Dozens of missed calls, hundreds of messages, voicemails stacked deep. My mom's texts started desperate, then turned vicious. "He's vomiting blood. They're rushing him to surgery. You're killing your brother." My dad sent one message. "He keeps asking why you hate him." Then Skylar went public. She posted a video from the hospital hallway, mascara streaked, voice shaking. My brother is fighting for his life, and my sister won't send $5,000. She makes 6 figures. Please share." She tagged my full name, my workplace, my city. The video exploded. Strangers flooded my inbox. Insults, threats, people who had never met me telling me I deserved to rot. I scrolled through it all while eating cereal, strangely calm. Then the calls started. The casino, the hospital billing department, unknown Nevada numbers. Each conversation ended the same way. Contact his parents. Not my responsibility. Goodbye. I wasn't angry. I was done. For the first time in my life, I let them face the consequences without stepping in to soften the fall. By the afternoon, the police got involved, and the truth about my brother's vacation finally came out. Everything they tried to hide is exposed.
The first call came just after 9 in the morning. A calm male voice introduced himself as an officer from South Lake Tahoe. He said my brother's name slowly, carefully, like he was already used to people reacting badly. I put the phone on speaker and kept eating. He explained that overnight, hospital security had contacted police after my brother assaulted a casino employee. During booking, they discovered something else, a fraudulent driver's license used to secure casino credit. My address was on it. Not my name, my old address. The officer continued, professional and detached. My brother was now facing multiple charges: assault, fraud, and identity-related offenses. Bail had been set. Cash only. They were calling me because I was listed as an emergency contact and financial reference. I told them the truth. I lived in another state. I wasn't a co-signer, guardian, or spouse. Direct everything to his parents. The officer paused, then admitted my parents were already there and completely unable to pay. "Tanner specifically asked that we keep trying you," he said. "That won't change anything," I replied, and ended the call. The hospital called next. A billing representative explained that under state policy, non-life-saving procedures required upfront payment when no insurance was provided. My brother was stable. Uncomfortable, yes, but stable. I repeated the same words. "Not my bill." She sighed. Hung up. My phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from my mom, spiraling further with every hour. Photos of my brother in a hospital bed, voice notes breaking down into screams. Skylar escalated again. She went live from the police station parking lot. "My brother is being treated like a criminal because my sister won't help," she cried into the camera. "If you ever wondered what betrayal looks like, this is it." Thousands watched. I blocked her. Then the casino called back, a manager this time. He offered to reduce the outstanding amount if paid immediately. Promissory notes, installments. I declined. Then a bail bondsman called. $800 could have him out within hours. I declined again. The calls blended together. Pressure from every angle, different voices, same expectation. That I would step in. That I always would. By early afternoon, a new message arrived from my father. "They're transferring him to county jail tonight if bail isn't posted." I waited for the guilt. It didn't come. Instead, something else did. Understanding. This wasn't a single bad weekend. This wasn't bad luck. This was a pattern that had been hidden from me for years, protected by money I kept supplying. And now that the money was gone, the truth was exposed. That's when my dad called again. His voice sounded older, tired, broken. He told me everything. My brother had been gambling for years. Online first, then in person. Bookies, loan apps, casino credit, tens of thousands in debt. They had already mortgaged the house twice to cover it. They knew. They'd known for a long time. This trip was supposed to fix it. One last win. I closed my eyes. They hadn't just failed him. They had sacrificed everything and expected me to sacrifice myself next. What my father asked me next would decide whether I stayed free or destroyed my own future.
My father called from an airport. I could hear announcements echoing in the background, the low hum of people moving past him while his world quietly collapsed. He didn't ask how I was. He went straight to the truth. Tanner's been gambling for 3 years, he said. Not just occasionally, constantly. I leaned against the kitchen counter and listened as he unraveled everything they had hidden from me. Online betting at first, then casinos within driving distance, then credit lines, bookies, desperation. The first time my brother admitted it, the debt was around $30,000. My parents paid it. They took out a reverse mortgage on the house and told themselves it was a one-time rescue. Tanner swore he would stop. He cried, promised, begged. 4 months ago, it happened again. This time it was over $50,000. They refinanced again, maxed out everything. Credit cards, savings, jewelry. The bank had already issued a final foreclosure warning. This Tahoe trip, my father said quietly, was our last gamble. I closed my eyes. They had handed him cash knowing he was sick. They gave him money anyway. They lost the house, and now they want me to borrow 6 figures to clean it up? He's our only son, my father whispered. I looked out at the skyline. That's the problem, I said. You always had one son. The rest of us were backups. He broke down then, open sobbing, begging, saying my name like a prayer. You taught me family comes first, I said. I lived by that rule for 32 years, and the moment I stop, I'm the villain. He begged harder. If you don't help, he goes to prison. Your mother and I are homeless. Is that what you want? I waited. Not for words, for guilt. It never arrived. No, I said softly, but it's what you built. I told him I loved him. I told him I was done paying for consequences that weren't mine. Then I said goodbye. That was the last time I ever spoke to my father. I blocked the number, and for the first time in my life, I felt something I'd never known before. Relief. The fallout didn't stop there. For 7 days, they tried everything to pull me back in. But once the consequences finally hit everyone, and the silence that followed changed my life.
The harassment lasted exactly 7 days. 7 days of burner numbers, fake email accounts, messages sent through distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone had an opinion about what I owed, what family meant, what kind of person I was. None of them offered money. My sister posted daily updates online. Day 4 without a home, she said in one video, tears carefully placed, all because my sister wouldn't help. Her fundraiser exploded. Tens of thousands of dollars donated by strangers who believed the version of the story where I was the villain. People praised her bravery, called her strong. I didn't watch. I changed my number, ported the old one to a dead inbox, and gave the new one to 8 people I trusted. I locked down my social media, scrubbed tags, made everything private. The noise slowly faded. On Wednesday morning, a neighbor sent me a photo I didn't ask for. The house. Yellow notice taped to the front door. Foreclosure finalized. 30 minutes to grab what they could carry. Everything else gone. That afternoon, my brother appeared before a judge via video. He took a deal. Reduced charges, mandatory inpatient treatment, no more pretending, no more hiding behind money that didn't exist. 2 days later, he was transported north in wrist restraints. My sister's online world collapsed just as fast as it had risen. Brands disappeared, sponsorships vanished, followers left in waves, comment sections turned cruel. She went live one last time from a cheap motel, begging people not to unsubscribe. The chat laughed. I wasn't celebrating. I was detaching. That weekend, I did something I'd been putting off for years. I moved. New apartment, new neighborhood, no forwarding address, just space.
The quiet that followed was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. No emergency calls, no sudden guilt, no constant readiness to fix someone else's mess. My phone stayed silent. My shoulders relaxed. I slept through the night. One evening, I sat on my new balcony watching the sun drop behind the mountains and realized something startling. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was free. Cutting them off wasn't cruelty, it was survival. I learned that love doesn't require self-destruction, that boundaries aren't punishment, that choosing yourself doesn't make you heartless, it makes you whole. For years, I thought being needed meant being loved. I was wrong. Being used feels very similar until you stop. The story doesn't end with anger or revenge. It ends with something much quieter. I'll tell you what life looks like after you stop carrying everyone else. The silence didn't arrive all at once. At first, I kept waiting for it to break. I'd wake up expecting my phone to vibrate with another emergency, another accusation, another demand disguised as love. My body was so used to living on alert that calm felt suspicious. But the days passed, and nothing happened. No calls, no messages, no guilt-laced reminders of what I owed. The world didn't collapse because I stopped paying for it. It kept spinning, just without me bleeding into it. I settled into my new place slowly. Morning coffee on the balcony, walks through unfamiliar streets, evenings where I cooked for myself without the background dread that someone was about to ruin their life and make it my problem. My phone battery started lasting 2 days. That alone felt like freedom. I checked the county inmate site once out of habit. My brother's status showed he was enrolled in a state-funded rehabilitation program. I closed the tab and never checked again. Not because I didn't care, but because caring no longer meant sacrificing myself. My sister disappeared from the internet. Her final post was a blurry photo of a moving truck with a caption blaming blood for everything. It faded into nothing, like most manufactured outrage does when it stops being profitable. A letter arrived weeks later, forwarded from my old address. Inside was a single photo of me as a child, gap-toothed, smiling, completely unaware of the role I'd been assigned. 2 words were written on the border in my mother's handwriting. "We're sorry." I stared at it for a long time. Then I let it go. I didn't feel hate. Hate takes energy. I had finally learned where to spend mine. That fall, I turned 33. I bought myself a cake, invited 3 coworkers who had quietly become friends. We sat under string lights on my balcony and laughed about nothing important. No one cried, no one asked me to pay, no one posted about it for sympathy. It was perfect. I slept with the windows open that night and woke up to birds instead of guilt. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying anyone, and I realized something I wish I'd learned sooner. Being the strong one often just means you were the most convenient one to use. Family isn't the people who drain you dry and call it love. It's the people who don't punish you for having limits. I didn't destroy my family. I stopped enabling their destruction. And when I finally put myself first, nothing bad happened. Something better did. I got my life back. If today's story touched your heart or kept you hooked, you can show your love by sending a super thanks. Your support helps me continue creating more powerful life stories for you. Thank you truly for always being so kind and supportive. I can't wait to read your thoughts about this story. On your screen right now, you'll find 2 new stories that I highly recommend, filled with emotions, twists, and lessons. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for many more inspiring life stories. Until the next one, sending you love, respect, and gratitude. See you in the next story.